is. I want to talk about how do we do this on a personal level and a bigger level? How do you cultivate this type of life? Because it's easy to say these things, but it's few to find instruction on how. Even in my Tao book, it kind of misses some things. It says, now we shall do Taoic yoga. And I go, okay, well, but that's like
What does that mean?
A to Z. We're all there, but we're missing something. Well, one thing I thought that was really important is the concept of going into the wilderness. Okay. So we talk about how the truth is found in silence, but it's not just silence. It's this stilling of your mind and dropping off the ego, right? And so there's this story that repeats, especially in the biblical text. But also Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu got on a donkey and left to the wilderness and set up there by himself, I assume, and wrote this book. I don't know if he figuratively did it or literally did it. Same with all the biblical characters, but there definitely is a pattern of people going out into the wilderness. So we have Moses. Just watched all that again and thought about Moses. He goes in a couple times. He goes up Mount Sinai, right? And he takes that time. Of course, it's usually 40 days. Takes that time to find that voice within himself, the who am I am. And then comes back down with some wisdoms. And then, of course, Jesus. Jesus, when it's time for him to enter into his period of life, that he's going to take the next step, he goes off into the wilderness. He goes into the desert. And finds that time to himself. Now, what is interesting is it's very easy to become jealous of that ability physically of monks and people like that, and
especially if you're
male cousins who can go do that in their youth. Because I am a mom and I'm a female, even when I was younger, and I said, please. Let me go off into the wilderness of my grandparents' property and stay in the cabin for 2 weeks so I can consider what I need to do in life, just like my cousins. No, you may not. You will do bad things. I don't know what they were, but they were bad. Bad things. And I really wanted clarity. And that's fine because I've also been trying to work through this. The flow said that was not the time. Nothing was wrong with that. But you can find this peace in the midst of being a busy mother. You don't have to go physically out into the mountains. It can be in moments of clarity while nursing a baby, which is not comfortable. Okay. It's a trying experience. And I've done this through 3 children for years. And if you sleep with your child, which most traditional people have forever, you are not sleeping. You are waiting patiently without moving your body. In uncomfortable positions so that your baby
so you're not out in the wilderness,
but in their mind.
But that's true.
In your mind, you have the opportunity to use that to quiet.
Thinking about Frankl again too.
Viktor Frankl found it in some uncomfortable places, Holocaust, Auschwitz. So you can't use that as an excuse. And that's what we want to share with people. Is that if you find yourself in a situation where you feel like you cannot escape, it has not abandoned you. You can find that peace there.
And that's the hope.
So, for example, we want to bring this home because this happens to everybody, whether you want to admit it or not. What do you do in a situation where someone is mean to you and you don't know why? So, like the example I had was, what if someone that has a obligatory relationship? Like child, maybe an adult child's easier to think about than a little child, because little children, you can forgive them for everything, but an adult child who knows better, or maybe a spouse. What if they do something mean? What if they lie? That is really hurtful for most of us.
And like repeated.
Well, no, even one time. I don't care if it's repeated. Even one time. Even one time. If you are the type person that takes things seriously, and then all of a sudden, this person you thought you knew, where did this come from? Why did they do that? Okay. So what do you do? Instinct and also books say, pull away, defend, have strong boundaries. I love the boundaries book. Boundaries are important. But where does that strength come from, And we want to go, why did they do this? What does it mean? What will happen next? What's going to happen next in my life? Have we ruined our relationship forever? You know, and like with an adult child or something, will I ever see their grandchildren again? Will they ever be part of my life? They hate me, or they move to another country? Spouse, it goes into things like embarrassment. Can we ever come back? Family members, divorces. You know, I've been through some divorces, so I know this. Well, everybody shunned me from my church. Yes.
Yeah, been there. Sorry.
Well, anyway, so there are real and imaginary problems that happen with this kind of stuff, big and little lies, but even little lies. The Tao says, be here, be in the now. And presence, the real kind, asks something quiet. So can you pause in the very moment that it happens? Not the memory of it happening and retelling the story of why did they do it? Why did they do it? What did they say? What did they
wear
write?
yourself out doing
What did they, and then do that story. And not in the fear of what's going to happen later, but right in that moment, and just simply feel yourself by yourself, even in the same room, but you're by yourself. And I like to do this to trigger some of those instinctual things. But I can touch my cheek, or I can be driving down the road and imagine touching my cheek. And the reason why is because, you know, if you're a mommy, or if you're ever human, nursing, nursing, there's an instinctual response that humans do when we're nervous. We go, all this stuff. You know, around necks and faces, and you think about your cats. They're like, that feeling triggers your body. Wait, I'm safe. That is a safe feeling. Even just imagine it. And there's no difference between imagining and feeling. We know that. I just want to say, we watched about mirror neurons yesterday. So I touch my cheek, and it sends a signal to my body that I'm not at war right now. I am not at war right now. Now, all my thoughts are going, shoulda, woulda, coulda, iffy, but I'm not at war right now, because most suffering is not in the act of itself. It's in the retelling and the retelling. And retelling it in different ways, and then telling other people, inventing. And it doesn't mean keep it all in, but you're creating that trauma to yourself again and again and again. And that's very Adlerian psychology.
Thoughts become things. So it's a discipline to think of the good things.
It's a discipline. And, you know, you get into that, they should have, and what if they had never done it. But you have to drop those labels and see what is. You know, can you see this person who did this, you know, your child, your partner, as they are right in this moment, not all that. And when you see them in that moment, their confusion, their fear, even avoidance behaviors, avoidance means not owning up, defensiveness, and not pile on all the stories of betrayal or predictions. Can you do that? And see a scared, defensive person who's reactionary, a human just in that moment. And if you return to your breath and your body, your instincts of you're physically safe, it doesn't mean that the lie didn't hurt or whatever. It just means you don't have to carry that weight, and you can see clearly who you are and who they are and what you want to do next, and not ruin your whole life. Because our life is full of moment by moment by moment, in the moment, of choosing how we want to spend it. Do you want to be in this kind of feeling, or do you want to be in the icky feeling? It's your choice. It's your prerogative. And I've spent my whole yesterday talking to young men about that. I said, you guys, because we're working on saying no and self-advocacy of saying no, which gets very tricky according to family and societal obligations. I said, you can say no for all these reasons. It's completely fine to say no for any reason on earth. Any reason you can say no. Does not mean that there will not be consequences if you become a big grumpy butt. Okay? But it's your prerogative. You don't want to get to the end of your life and go, oh, I didn't spend any minutes doing what I wanted to do. I was so worried about stuff. So children instinctively do this. They cry, they rage, they hug.
Little 2-year-olds.
But then they move
say no.
on. But then they move on. Like even this morning, a little baby girl. She is in the no stage. Everything. No, mom, come get me. Grandma says, you want some cereal? No. Cereal. Like, it's ridiculous. Okay. nonstop. So anyway,
Mhm.
so maybe that's why Jesus said to become like a little child,
Mhm.
because children have not learned the labels. They've not
Mhm.
learned the obligations. They have not lived all the years of social mimicry
Yeah.
yet. And then
Yeah.
we do that to them.
No, put the masks on as we develop.
Implicitly and explicitly.
Mhm.
So today, if someone hurts you, before the story sets in, before your nervous system takes control and runs away with it, touch your cheek, return to the now, or hold the steering wheel and feel the bumpies on it. I used to do that, or walk around the labyrinth,
Mhm.
or I used to do this, like feel things, smell things, touch
The
things.
5 senses. Yeah.
And when you do that, you can have an opportunity to empty the vessel of those thoughts
Mhm.
that are not good seeds to be planting in your subconscious, those nasty thoughts.
Mhm.
You want to cultivate good thoughts in your subconscious, because you are not those thoughts. You don't, well, you could become those thoughts, but you don't want to be those thoughts.
Mhm.
Anyway, what do you think?
Yes. And
Yeah.
then I was thinking, can I add one of my practical
Yeah, and then
things?
we might want to talk about that,
Oh,
and then we'll be
yeah.
done. Add
And
your
then we'll be
practical
done.
thing. Add
Okay.
your practical thing.
Practical thing is I do take and have a yoga class, and the focus is on breathing. And one of my instructors a few years ago, she worked with people that had complex post-traumatic stress disorder. But anyway, so she had a lot of techniques. And one of the things that when we were being still in Shavasana, when we're just laying there, she would have us practice breathing.
My favorite pose in yoga.
It's everybody's. But anyway, and she would have us practice breathing and those 5 senses as much as possible to to calm ourselves or whatever. I then, in my own mind, in my own practical way, take in that practice of breathing like that, even if I'm driving or doing other things, and take in and realize that everything around us is part of that source, part of what we're talking about, and that the breathing the air in, breathing it in, I'm breathing in God. I'm breathing in the source and taking it in, and that I am cared about and I'm loved. That gives me comfort in different situations. And breathe in, and then breathe out more slowly. And that's just a practical technique that I use.
That. So it doesn't matter what the technique is, it's whatever resonates with you. And I think that's so important, because I know a lot of people on the enlightenment path or awakening path or whatever, spiritual guru path, they're like, you have to do this.
Yeah.
You have to meditate this many times a day, and you have to fast, and you have to do whatever. And it doesn't matter. It's whatever brings you that ability, whether it's structured or unstructured. Maybe it's running until you're half dead. Maybe it's hiking until you're half dead.
Yeah, but
And kicking snakes and stuff.
Yeah.
And that exhausted. And then you have that gap between I am this body and who am I? Watching my body be exhausted. When you get that little gap, that's what you want to cultivate. And I will tell you, if you're new on that path, that may be radical to you, because it was radical to me about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
It gets better.
Yeah.
You may have to rewire that neuronal firing, that circuitry, because it's circuitry we're rewiring, 40, 50 times a day.
Yeah.
You might have to go, I'm in the car, and then you find your mind wandering. I can do this with other people now. I can watch when they're wandering. Their little eyes go. I have a student who does this. His eyes go, yep, they're gone. I go, hey, we're here in this room. We're right here. Look at, whatever. It's a real subtle little shift where they're off in la la land with what ifs and things like that. Yeah. But it gets easier, is what I'm telling you, is hang with it, cultivate the mind, discern, train the mind. Train the mind to be a good vessel for yourself, for peace.
For yourself.
Okay. Oh, we wanted to talk about that book.
So cute.
I ordered it again. So this was the original book a long time ago that got us on this journey of even accepting the Tao Te Ching.
Yeah, because it was scary a little bit.
So silly. Ignorance.
Yeah.
The Tao of Pooh. Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh.
And I used to really not like this, actually. And then I was like, okay, it's all right. Because Winnie the Pooh, that character, holy cow. Bless his heart. You could have a tornado comes and hits the house, and he is like overly optimistic and like, oh, good. Here's the honey. And you're like,
and his world is fine.
His world is fine. And he just toddles off somewhere else. And that's what the Tao Pooh is, a really fun book to read to get you some good reality on thought control.
Yeah.
And all the little archetypes of all the little characters in Winnie the Pooh are like humanity. And I don't know if that was written in that purpose or we just all resonate with the same stories.
Yeah.
But you know, you got Piglet, who's obviously has an anxiety disorder.
Little
He's a
piglet.
what if.
Mhm.
And then you have other people trying to be controllers and plan. And when you don't plan, they get really mad. And the plan doesn't work. I think that's rabbits like that, right? And then what is so interesting is we have Kanga and Roo.
Yeah.
And Kanga is the only female character
Of the original. Yeah. And she was strong and she guided the other characters and nurturing. It's interesting. Makes me want to go watch the little cartoons again.
I love it. And what we found out is that it is possible and highly possible that the original Winnie the Pooh was based on a female bear named Winnipeg.
Why did they change it?
It's okay,
That's another story.
but it is interesting. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
So that's it
for today.
That's enough for me to work on this week. What do you think? In those quiet moments where you're laying in bed and spinning around
in the middle of the night.
In the middle of the night. No, not like don't have time. But in the middle of the night, this is how you work through those situations.
I'm grateful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we did it again. Next chapter is 11 and it is called, is it the belly one? I hope it's the belly one.
Mine says intangible. See, it's going to be different. Intangible and invisible within us.
I'm pretty sure that it is. It is. No, it's not. Never mind. It's non-being. It's non-being. Non-being. Next time's the belly, not eyes. I'm excited. Okay. Well, anyway, this has been Sacred Soul Mornings. I hope you all feel uplifted and that you're not alone out there. We might be working on something about making sure we can share being uplifted with other people in a very unique way. I don't know. We're talking about it. Yeah, so this has been Sacred Soul Mornings. Remember that life is a journey, not a checklist of any sort. And it has been so fun to really realize what that means throughout this journey. So enjoy the ride, genuinely.